forgot to ask you, how many hours are you in Final Fantasy? How many hours do I have to play this torturous game coming up?
Not much.
What game do you have to play, Mitch?
Starfield.
I have to stream Starfield, remember? I even said it in the intro episode, you guys can pick my character.
Oh.
But I get to knock it off like an hour.
Alright, so I've got 24 hours. I know that's the original. Hold on.
And we're live.
14 hours is all. That's all I've got to remake. So you're gonna get off easy.
Right. So Liam, before the stream started, was talking about people's dreams about the Xbox showcase, whereas I had a different dream about Xbox, where Phil Spencer asked for everyone's Xboxes in the UK back.
Oh.
Why would he do that?
Because Xbox is going to pull out of business in the UK. They just think, we've lost it, it's fine,
Oh
don't
my
worry about
God,
it. Everyone send your Xboxes back to Xbox.
We lost.
Genius.
We lost the war. Please hand them over.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen at the Xbox showcase. There's going to be a special thing at the end. Say, hang around if you're in the UK. Here's the address you need to send your useless piece of plastic and machinery to. As of whatever date they agreed to pull out of operating in the country. Hello, we are Pixel Pints. We are the only global podcast that talks about two things that we enjoy, which is good beer and video games. We're not here to promote drinking. We're not here to promote in-game gambling. And we're not here to promote whatever Matt has got on his t-shirt.
We are going to promote saying Happy Pride Month.
It's a chocobo, or it's a mogul riding a chocobo.
Yeah, we're definitely not here to promote people riding chocobos. It's a form of abuse. Happy Pride Month. We aren't jumping on the bandwagon and saying here's a load of Pixel Pints related Pride gear, because we don't have a merch store.
I know the invisible people have been asking for years about a merch store.
I know.
Yeah.
We gotta have Rafa do up the Twitter logo so we can make it a rainbow.
Why don't we do a Kickstarter?
Hey, actually what we should do for an episode is we should find rainbow beers.
Rainbow.
I've got a quite array of colourful cans here, so maybe that might
Still
work.
waiting to do an evening episode because I have one more beer to drink in the fridge that's like a really good fruity beer, but you couldn't do it last night.
Yeah.
No, I was out most of yesterday. And what else do we do? We have social medias, so you can find us on Pixel_Pints on Twitter and Pixel Pints Pod on Instagram. You can see most of our episodes archived on our YouTube channel, youtube.com, and search for Pixel Pints. Yeah. You may be interested, but well, you may not, but I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell you anyway. I got a new pair of glasses yesterday because my eyesight prescription has changed slightly. It turns out that my previous prescription not being quite right for me wasn't the reason that I'm shit at Apex Legends.
The question is, did your eyes get worse or better?
Slightly worse.
Sorry you're getting old.
So with the new glasses, you're not any better? You didn't improve your KD?
No, I'm still just as bad as I was before. Liam, how are things with you?
Yeah, go Mark. Not much going on with me at the minute, to be honest. I don't want to talk about the fact that I've only been playing Genshin Impact for the past couple of weeks, so bowing that.
I think it's been longer than that because I've seen it on Discord. Is it Tomb Raider's playing Genshin Impact? Is it
No, but I've been playing it for longer, but I mean, I've just been playing it exclusively for the past 2 weeks. So
okay, is that until a certain Final Fantasy game comes out?
No, not necessarily. I've got a few things I plan to play. I bought Alan Wake Remastered. I want to get that out of the way before 16 Fantasy Final. But I also want to play Planet of Lana because that looks great, and I need an excuse to play the Xbox Series X. So.
Because great games don't change anything. That's gonna come back and haunt him for years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like TV
Well,
for
I
Don
suppose-
Matrick.
I suppose he's got a point though, because McDonald's burgers aren't that great. In fact, they're pretty bad. But people flock to McDonald's for crap food.
Yeah, but
well,
it's different of games.
Well, also, I would defend and also argue that there's so much sugar in it, and sugar is so addicting that you would want to go to McDonald's every time to go have more of that sugar.
So Xbox games just need to have gambling in them, is what you're saying.
No, they need
So
to
it's-
ingest
so
sugar
it's
into the bloodstream of each user every time they pull up Game Pass, so that they get the high to come back.
I don't know,
That was called-
they do kind of do that.
Oh,
with the,
actually, I'm sorry. Here you go.
with the
They need
achievements and all that stuff.
they need to deliver you McDonald's every time you open up Game Pass. Be like,
This is how Western civilization collapses.
It's like, welcome to Game Pass. Can I take your order? And I was like, yeah, I'll 2 cheese. Like, here's the combo of the day. You get to choose from 3 different ones. You pick one, and as soon as your food gets delivered, then you can start playing. You have to wait until the food delivers. It's like a downloading.
So I'm expanding on this because this is a fascinating idea. You could have tiers. So if Liam is playing, I don't know, Planet of Lana, all he's going to get is 4 chicken nuggets and a dip.
You play Halo, you get
Halo.
everything you want.
Yeah, you play Halo
Mac meal.
on insane difficulty.
Oh, no,
and
no.
someone should...
No, you play Redfall, you get anything you want. You get anything you want. Just please play the game.
As an apology.
What a wonderful mix, greasy fast food and playing games on your controller.
That's okay.
So the recipe for beautiful looking controllers, I'm sure.
The Xbox controller will be coated in the grease itself, so that doesn't worry about messing up the controller.
Well, it's not like
It's
they
grease proof.
it's not like they could mess up the rumble feature because it's shocking.
Yeah, it's not like
Matt,
they have
how
a
are
dual
things-
sense. Haptic feedback.
How are things in Vegas? They're not too bad. They're heating up. It's going to be summertime. But yeah, I threw in for some morning times a few weeks back and realized that I slept through my alarm. And I was like, you know what? I got to do it. I got to be on the episode this week. So here I am.
And finally, Mitch, how's everyone and how are you after the PlayStation Showcase? Because it wasn't particularly well received by a large number of people.
No comment on the showcase. You know why. No comment on the showcase. And then I'm pretty good. You know, just I mean, Berghoff, I get up at 6:15 every day to go to the gym, so on Monday through Friday. So my body naturally now wakes me up at this time, which sucks kinda on the weekends. But no, I just played a shit ton of Zelda this weekend. Left me with a lot of questions and actually changed my opinion on the game as I kept playing more and more and more of it, because I was only about 4 or 5 hours in, and now I'm something like probably like 20 hours in, or maybe less, maybe like 18 or 15.
So are you now thinking that it's gone from a perfect 10 out of 10 to I don't know, 15 out of 10?
I think
Because you put extra time in?
no, actually I have flipped. So like I originally went into it going, I could see why this got a 10 out of 10. It's much better across the board. But now it is worn off pretty quickly, to where it leaves almost nothing to expand upon for the game. Unfortunately, like the only thing you really can expand upon is just getting new different types of armor, which really doesn't make a difference, because if you get hit once, you're basically almost dead. And then 2, like it's not like the systems really change. It's the same systems that you started with the game, so like there is no sense of progression in the game, to be honest. So I don't know, it just it's kind of wearing thin on me right now. So I'm gonna keep playing though. And this is just me exploring the overworld. I haven't done the main mission stuff yet, or side stuff. Well, I've done some side stuff, but I'm tackling now the main stuff to see, is this going to change my mind about how the game is? But so far, it's pretty wearing me down at the moment, to where my mind has changed, where it's more like it's a really solid, like, high 8, low 9 max. Not a perfect game. The frame rate is horrible in places. It is bad. It's like tanks when I break like more than 2 rocks at a time. It's crazy.
Well, my personal favorite thing that I've seen about Tears of the Kingdom is the tweet that Rafa shared, where someone just wrote, the scenery in Tears of the Kingdom is so beautiful, and then they get on some weird hover bike that they've made, and they just fly up in the air, and it's just this matte green color.
Yeah.
For as far as the eye can see.
It's not on the Switch is very technically impressive what they could do on that device, but like it's not very, yeah, I don't understand. I mean,
right. Do you know what I do understand?
What?
Beer talk.
All right.
Liam, what kind of receptacle are you drinking out of today? Previously, it was a jam
I,
jar.
I don't understand beer talk. I just don't get it. What's beer again?
Probably because you haven't drunk enough of it. Right, so today I have in a nice bright pink can. We're talking about rainbows, we'll get onto that. So I've got pink and orange and red and brown. Tiny Rebel ESB Extra Special Bitter. It's 5.8%, which is relatively strong for a bitter. It tastes like bitter, but it looks like stout.
Yeah.
It's really dark. It's not so much malty, it's more burnt malty. Again, very colourful, pink and green and purple. This would be terrible for someone who's colourblind. From an accessibility point of view, this is some terrible.
Oh my god!
Design.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I can't really read it, actually.
Someone from marketing should definitely be fired for that. Holy shit!
Yeah,
does that mean that I'm
Green King
colorblind?
Flint-Eye Dry Hop Lager. This stuff's really good. But
that is like the oh my god. We follow color wheel rules, and like that's just basic 101 in freaking marketing, man.
Yeah, it stands out on a shelf because it's bright pink and green. But when you actually look at the cans, and then the last one I've got for today is Aries. So Wildcard Brewing are doing a series of beers based on all the signs of the zodiac.
Nice. That's cool.
So I picked up Aries because it was the one that they had there, and the other one that they had, I can't remember which sign of the zodiac it was, but it was a stout, so that can fook off.
Was it Cancer? That was the stout.
Don't remember. That's why I said I didn't remember. So don't ask me if I.
That's why I can fook off.
Matt, that's just a silly question.
I like how you fooked it off so you didn't ruin the algorithm.
Yeah, I said shit earlier.
Ah, damn.
Oh no! Now we won't get any money.
Well, we could do through Spotify, but I don't monetize this.
I mean, we could make a Pixel Pints OnlyFans. It's always an option.
Well, but then Matt, what would Matt do with all his time? He'd just be, I don't know, taking selfies of himself, I don't know, in skimpy outfits with his gun. That's not a euphemism.
With pouring a beer on himself, saying a real American.
Yeah,
there might be an audience for that, guys.
Playing in the background. I am a real American.
No. Just like to change the whole mood, you play that Trey Parker and Matt Stone America. Fuck yeah!
I'm gonna save the motherfucking day. Yeah.
I take it no one else has got any.
No, I just got sugar-free Red Bull.
Yeah, I've been drinking Miller Lite though recently.
Oh, did you step away from the Bud Light because of?
No, I never. Bud Light's horrible. I never drank Bud Light, but
agreed.
Yeah. But Miller Lite's not bad. I like
Anything
that beer.
Budweiser is horrible when it's made by Anheuser-Busch.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, I always forget to ask. Have I ever introduced the video, the audio series Bud Light, Real Men of Genius to any of you?
Yes, I think you have.
I think we have.
I didn't go and watch any of it though.
Okay, I will look it up and I will show it to you after the show. It's probably you guys. Actually, Keith, probably you of most would enjoy it just because of how intellectual it is, but yet stupid. It's great. Anyway,
So basically, he's either giving me a backhanded compliment or telling you two you're idiots. You choose what one's going on.
let us know what you think in the comments.
Let's quickly go on to our topic this week then. There was some debate in the Discord about what we were going to talk about, so it's a surprise to me that it's turned out to be what it is. Mitch, I think you suggested a topic, so would you like to introduce it, please?
Sure. I mean, we've talked about reviews for a while, so I thought this one is a more fresher one, and plus Stefan's not on the show to talk about it, which is probably has the more fresher perspective of reviews. But anyway, we will do that eventually, especially because reviews have changed over the last couple of years. But I did want to talk about, so I've been playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and there's a really interesting debate internally I've been having while playing this title, because it's technically like an action adventure puzzle solving. Now, in this case, it's a Minecrafty soapbox open world game. So many elements together anyway. But what I'm trying to say is I go into an area and clearly they give me the tools to be able to solve a puzzle however I feel like I want to. But in game design, usually as a designer, when we design puzzles, we want to steer the player in a direction that we feel like will help them to solve the puzzle either one way, or there can be multiple ways you can solve a puzzle. But as long as like the one way is very clear on how to solve it, then the player feels like they have freedom to be able to solve it, and therefore they feel the satisfaction when they solve the puzzle. In Tears of the Kingdom, I'm not getting either. Because a lot of the times I do what I call hit the fuck it button, which is I build the biggest ramp I can, and it solves 99.9% of every puzzle I have. Or also, like, in another example was there was a ball that was rolling, and what I was supposed to do was I was supposed to put these things on a wall and help guide it to the spot. I just grabbed it with the hand thingy and levitated it over to the spot it's supposed to go and dropped it. Like, I don't understand how that really is puzzle solving. And I almost think as if it's taking the fun out of the game because it's not forcing me to like really think hard. Now, some puzzles are actual puzzles and they are quite difficult and really are good thinkers, but it doesn't happen often enough that it just makes me really question, what is really good puzzle design? Is that considered really good puzzle design if I can hit a fuck it button of building a ramp and skipping 90% of what they were wanting me to do in the first place? Is that considered genius on my part? Or is that just considered bad puzzle design? Or is that just considered part of the game and that's what's the genius of it? You can solve it by hitting a fuck it button. So I just kind of wanted to pose the question to everybody because I think this is it's one that has everyone in different areas. To be honest,
Matt pay you to talk about this topic, by the way?
I'm not paid to talk about this topic.
Okay, I was just wondering because he's going to talk about the Talos principle insufferably.
And the witness, damn it.
And this,
But I feel like the witness makes
the
you.
Talos principle.
Oh, anyway, go ahead. I mean, I can have a counter for your witness, but yeah.
Well, all right. So we should probably caveat the conversation by saying that I think Mitch, you're the only one that has played Tears of the Kingdom here, right? Nobody else here has played it.
But you
I'm
all have
never
seen
going to play
videos
it.
enough to know there's a fuck it button, right?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, for anybody listening.
Fair. No, I just
saw,
yeah.
I saw a video where someone created a murder machine that they could levitate over village people and then just turn it on, and they were just massacring everyone. It looked hilarious.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Sorry, that's my second element. I did want to mention, like, some people are completely like destroying bosses by like making these destructive machines, which is almost at one moment brilliant, but at the same time, is that really what you're supposed to do in the game? Like, you have a combat system, don't you? I just it makes me question.
The combat system looks terribly rudimentary.
Well, it's very bad. It's very bad.
It's the same as Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah, it's a little. No, they do a slight improvement. You can attach any object to any weapon, and you also can attach any object to your arrows, and also sometimes changes the properties of what the arrow does. So like certain like a fruit I find can actually make the arrow turn into a flaming arrow, or one into a homing arrow. So like there's a bunch of options.
Yeah.
But I also can put a meat stick on a arrow, and it does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess so. To answer your question, or like the base question, I think it's good game design only because the systems work. There are a million different ways that this could break, and I haven't seen anybody post anything online where like the game just completely freaks out or whatever. Like somehow it's able to handle all of the shit that you can do, even if it is just a fuck it button or whatever, which I think is impressive. But is it something that is appealing to me? No. I mean, we had sort of talked about this before. I don't know if it's on any episodes, but it's definitely in the Discord. They didn't fix what was fundamentally wrong with Breath of the Wild.
There was nothing fundamentally wrong with Breath of the Wild. It is perfect.
Yet somehow this game is more perfect, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so like because of that, like I have no interest in playing Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm not a Minecraft guy either. Like I never got into that style of game. And every time like they want me to build something, whether it's like a base or contraptions or whatever, like it just doesn't appeal to me at all. I think traditional puzzle design, like with Talos Principle and The Witness and Myst and stuff like that, it feels more rewarding when you actually get it right, and there is like the only one way to solve it.
Now, for the record, I just want to make it clear, we're not talking about the systems and whether they work or not, or break or not. Like, I think we all agree the systems are pretty amazing, that they work in this title and how they function and all that kind of stuff. It's more of just using the tools to solve puzzles, or to, in a sense, hit a fuck it button to be able to bypass a puzzle.
Yeah, so I think it's more rewarding. Traditional puzzle design is more rewarding, at least for me as a player.
You were going to say something, Liam?
I was just saying, I love Minecraft, but I don't love Breath of the Wild, and I don't think I'm going to love this game. Because while it's impressive and the design is interesting, I don't think that necessarily means that the design is good or would hold my attention. I guess because there's a lot of people that love this game and would love to spend every waking moment in it. But to me, I prefer the classic direction of Zelda. I think that franchise benefited a lot from being linear, and they have an escalation of puzzle design where things get more tough and more intricate and more interesting as the game goes on. And then you finish it and you're done, and you don't have to think about it again. Whereas I play this game for 2 hours, and I'll play one really cool puzzle that I thought was great, and I'll play another puzzle that was highly boring and served no purpose other than to get the shiny thing or something like that. And I just think, oh wow, this is not a great use of my time. And yet this game's huge, and it could last you more than 200 hours. And is it really that fulfilling? Or would it be more fulfilling if I just played with this kit of design and physics and everything that they've developed into a more confined experience? And then I played it, finished it, and was just left with a good experience. I tend to think that making things bigger and more full of things to do doesn't necessarily make it better, in my opinion. And that's my problem when it comes to Zelda. And one other thing I'll say is, I think just generally, a lot of puzzle design in video games is rather boring and uninteresting these days. Generally, I think in a strange sort of way that video games developers getting a little bit more handholdy with consumers has led to things being a little less interesting and creative, and actually test your sort of prowess when trying to figure out something in a video game, to the point where modern games have some really intricate puzzles, but a lot of the time it's hampered by the fact that it just gives you the answer. And I find myself just not being very interested in puzzles in video games anymore. Because before it felt like, oh, this is something I can overcome. A little bit like, I think, something like a Souls game. I think people find value in being able to overcome a lot of the bosses or scenarios they get put in. But it doesn't feel as satisfying when the game's constantly telling you what the answer is and how you should do it.
I think in modern games nowadays, for your gripe, Liam, because they're trying to apply to such a wider audience nowadays, you would be shocked to see how quickly a casual player, will give up on a game when the puzzle isn't simply there to know the exact answer to. Whereas us as gamers, we're used to / want to take time to solve an interesting and complex puzzle in a level or something like that. And so that's now the new thing that the industry is trying to figure out in general, of being how do we apply that to make sure that there is the feel of challenge for the players that are gamers that have played games for a long time, but yet a casual player doesn't all of a sudden get frustrated after less than a minute of trying to look at something and just say, fuck it, I'm done. I'm not playing this game anymore. Because in testing, that happens more than you expect.
Can I just say, if I was to add to my initial opinion as well, I would say that I don't entirely hate it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, and I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. I just think it's different. And while I sometimes miss a lot of the design of old, I also don't at the same time, because you could be playing an old game and you'd hit like a puzzle and you'd be a brick wall literally trying to figure out what the hell to do for hours on end. And yeah, it's not it's not congruent with casual gamers at all. They just throw the game in the bin and buy something else.
I was trying to think of a analogy to what Mitch was talking about whilst you were all boring me to tears talking about Zelda. And it just kind of struck me, what's the last game that I played that had really kind of interesting, intricate puzzles that I felt rewarded for solving? And I think the modern Tomb Raider games, or at least the two that I played, the tomb puzzles are really well designed, really well thought out, and wouldn't in any way, shape or form benefit from someone with an ability to craft. Just think, actually, I don't need to roll this minecart down here that smashes this thing so I can get through to the next area so that I can climb up and do the next part of the puzzle that I need to do. I'll just take all this wood that's around here and hammer it all together in some kind of physics-defying manner, and then just climb right up to the top and get the thing that I needed to anyway. That to me, giving someone the tools to break the thing that you've designed, okay, you can get away with the excuse of player choice in the same way as people talk about loot box cosmetics, but does it really add anything in terms of what Mitch was talking about, the satisfaction, and Liam, you were talking about the satisfaction of completing something the way it was meant to be completed? Would other games benefit from that kind of open world building design? I don't think most of them would, because I don't think most people designing that type of environment would think, yeah, do you know what would be great is if we built this really massively intricate, well, not that anything in Zelda Breath of the Wild is that intricate, because it's just basically sticks and rocks stuck together with plasticine by the looks of things.
Or my favorite meme of, I think it's from American Dad, the guy's like, it says Breath of the Wild on top of it, and he's just like, I have a stick and I have a piece of flint. let me just do something. And all of a sudden he goes down the ground. All of a sudden he pulls out like an AK-47.
I don't get the impression that other people designing games, and if you're asked to design a puzzle, you think, okay, great, well done. Someone broke my puzzle. Boss, what was the fucking point of me doing that? Okay.
I know. That's where it comes from for me on my end, where it's like, you know, I see people like we spend so hard working on stuff, and like if we had a puzzle level designer that's trying to make an intriguing, like intricate and interesting puzzle for you to use the tool set, but doesn't think of the fail-safe of, oh, I can just grab this ball with the same tool and just bypass the entire puzzle that these people spend weeks making. Like these puzzles aren't made in a day or in 2 hours. Like maybe the concept of the original design of what the puzzle is supposed to be from like the pre-planning stages, but like to actually set up the tools, put all the gameplay elements in there, put the physics, do the testing to make sure like it's a good puzzle. It's not a short amount of time. And to basically me say I don't care and hit a fuck it button, I feel like I'm insulting the designer.
Well, I guess that's an interesting question, and something that I haven't seen online yet. Is anybody talking about like how long or what was actually put into designing the puzzles? Because it would be interesting to know.
It wouldn't be, because basically what they've done is create a scenario where nothing matters in the game.
There we go. I think that you nailed it.
How much did they actually try out though? Like what was tested?
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, Matt. Like what do you mean? How much was tested? I guess I mean it doesn't matter, but I'm just curious on what do you mean? It doesn't make sense.
Well, all right. So like, all right. You design a puzzle, right? There's 1 or 2 or 3 ways to solve it, or at least there's 3 ways that were anticipated of people figuring out how to solve it, right?
Sure.
But what if they gave it to 10 people and got 10 different results on how to solve the puzzle? I don't know. If that was the goal, to be able to allow
the goal ultimately is, and it's a very neat way of being able to kind of hide behind your game design in this. It's all about allowing people to play the game however they want. Okay, great, well done. You achieved that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also, sorry, the other question probably into play would be like, they ask them, did they have fun? And maybe a lot of them, even though they cheated or like didn't do it in the intent of way the puzzle was supposed to do, I guess it's not called cheating because you're using the tools given to you, but you're not doing it the way the puzzle person created.
Circumventing would be the word that I would use.
Okay, circumventing. You circumvented the puzzle. The person had fun. That's literally what matters. Is that gonna, like in the survey, are you gonna buy this game? If they say yes, then who cares?
Well, yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was getting at. And that's why I say that it does work. It's not bad game design in that regard.
I guess in your mind,
even though it's a game that I have no interest in playing, and I think that traditional puzzle design is a much more rewarding experience.
Sure.
You know,
I think at some point, like, yeah, you are kind of right. Like, what's the point? It doesn't matter if as long as they're gonna buy the game, and like who cares if they cheat my puzzle? Like blah blah blah. I mean, as a game maker, I would just be so infuriated by that, being like, I spent all this time. I guess like in a sense they could be like, well, my fallback is I create an interesting puzzle. If they want to solve it the way they want to solve it the real way, they can solve it the real way. But I guess that for me that just kind of feels cheated.
See, what you're talking about is the extra marks you get on maths tests. So for showing your working. It's like, no, I'm not going to show you my working because I've got the right answer. So it doesn't matter how I got there. I got the right answer.
Right.
Oh, well, you give me a horrible flashback, Keith. I
love that example, though. It's a great example.
Show me work. I used a calculator. Show your work. Press 1 on the calculator. Press the plus button. Plus the 1 on the calculator. Press equal. 2. I was going to say 22. But yeah,
standards of mathematics is obviously falling in the States. But that's
it has been for years.
It's here as well. The standard of English is terrible here. If you hear any of the kids talk at the moment, you'd think like that, like was like need
Are they
to be
more?
like between all like the other words. It's getting really bad here. I was out.
What you're going on about, Keith?
I'm just being old, Liam. I'm going to go outside and shout some clouds soon.
Just make sure you have a beer and post it on OnlyFans.
So I was just trying to think again. I've been playing an absolute load of Marvel's Midnight Suns. That game is so good and it should be getting more respect than it's got. But would that, because if in that kind of strategy game, every level is a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could just, I don't know, press a button or there's a couple of buttons that would make my character hover over everything else so they can't get hit, and then I could just unleash more attacks on everything, would that make me feel more fulfilled? I was thinking, is it probably the first time? But after that, no. Because it would just feel like I'm circumventing the point, and actually you're taking away some of the enjoyment of figuring this stuff out and actually winning the encounters. That said, the challenge missions where you unlock people's legendary outfits are horrendously complicated. So as soon as I get to the challenge mission, I'll try it once, and if I can't figure it out the first time, I just think, screw this, I'm looking it up on YouTube. Because they can be insanely complicated. And it's at that point where I just think, no, the fun bit is the other stuff. This is just a frustration. So in some respects, if people are given, but that's not an in-game tool, that me just being lazy and looking stuff up for myself, because I'm more invested in playing the game rather than trying to just complete this one puzzle. But if I had the opportunity to just circumvent that, like you can in Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales, Matt, you can just skip all the puzzles, the puzzle missions. You can just skip them all. You don't have to do them. I don't feel like I would be getting anything from that. So how would someone feel if you just rock up to a Riddler trophy in Batman Arkham City and it just gave you the trophy?
Yeah.
Or I've thrown, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a Batman related one. I think the Tomb Raider Tombs one is probably the better example of circumventing puzzles.
Also, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Like, when you mentioned Tomb Raider, that's what I thought of the original Tomb Raider games first, and then I thought of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Because I think to a certain degree, I think it's sort of what you were getting on at earlier, Keith, is at least in those games, it feels like the puzzles have a point, and it's like they're part of the world, and it feels far more like you're doing something that's worth doing. Like, it doesn't feel pointless if you do a puzzle and it unlocks a tomb, and you go in the tomb and you continue the story. Whereas if you're just doing a puzzle for the sake of doing a puzzle, it just doesn't have the same impact. It feels pointless. It feels like the game's just wasting your time.
So are we saying that the entire game of tearing up in the king's home is just one giant puzzle? Is this the remedy for that? We just explained that the whole game is actually a puzzle game. The whole game itself is a puzzle for you to figure out however you want, and everything else is meaningless. Existence is meaningless. There is only Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean, to a certain extent, I guess you could compare that to a strategy game and say the puzzle is the game, and but it doesn't quite work the same way, does it? Because it doesn't feel congruent with the overarching quest that the game set you on. It just feels like you're out in an open world and you've got to rescue the princess, and there's all this bullshit in between you and getting there that you have to do.
I think
Whereas in a strategy game, it's like, oh no, the goal is to beat this enemy force, and the way I beat this enemy force is by strategizing and figuring out how to do it.
I think the interesting part about this one that's more different than probably any other title is that I think the tools that the game gives you in combination with each other can almost seem game breaking rather than tools to use to like solve regular puzzles. Because like an example, two of the tools you get in, the two main tools, well, there's four, but so there's four tools, two main ones you use in puzzle solving. There's technically three, but I'm going to name two of them only right now, which is the Ultra Hand, which is grab any object, lift it in the air, move it forward and backward, rotate it however you want, and then also if you find other objects, you can glue them together. And then the other tool is a Rewind, where you take any object in the world that is movable, and it can rewind the time.
The Crouch-Type selector.
What?
What was that?
Is it if you press rewind the Crouch's bow selector?
I don't understand.
If you've never heard of, okay.
Okay. But what I feel as if there are times that those tools, yes, make interesting puzzles, and I've done interesting puzzles using those tools, but I almost feel like they break the game in so many different aspects. Like an example of if I need to get up to a ledge, there is another clear way I could do it. But all I need to do is take the Ultra Hand, grab an object I can stand on, and then move it all the way up to where I would need to be able to reach, pull it down,
do the rewind,
pull it to the side, and then put it back up again, and then let go, and then hit rewind. Because then by the time the thing comes back down, jump on, it'll go back up, and then I go to the ledge and Bob's your uncle. I think like the rules of those tools are so hard to control when combined that it is, in a sense, breaking its own game. Where in some moments when they actually want you to use those type of tools, I think it does work really well and it makes total sense. Like I think an example of one puzzle they had me do was they had a ball, and I have to put the ball in two sphere slots, and each sphere slot opened up a door, but there's only one ball. So obviously put it in the farthest one, put it in the closest one, then put it down on the ground, and then rewind it. So then by the time I start rewind, I can run over and go through each gate slowly one at a time. Great puzzle. It was a great puzzle. But like everywhere else where those rules, like I think I actually answered my own question. I think it is partially poor level design because what ended up happening is that one is the only way I can solve that puzzle is by using those tools together. And they created an environment where only I could use those tools to solve that puzzle. There was not enough tools for me to make the Fuck It Bucket ramp. So,
okay.
Like, they could do it. They just don't. Or they didn't understand that you could actually figure out another way around it. So,
Mitch,
I don't know.
I was just wondering, what is the game's excuse for you going around with the powers to do all of these things? You know, rewind time. What is the what is the concept of these? Why does Link have this in the game? Does it ever explain this?
Kinda.
Why he has these powers?
Yeah, kinda. In the beginning, you meet a person who's an old. So I guess the original rulers of Hyrule are aliens, basically. And he came with magical abilities, which included moving objects with his hands, and then also rewinding time. And so, like, your arm is his old arm, and he combined it with Link's arm, so Link has his abilities, basically. So all the abilities Link has are the abilities of the Elder that was the founder of Hyrule. If I'm understanding the story correctly, I'm not a Zelda expert in any of the capacity, but so far what I've learned from the plot, that's what I think. is basically what's happening.
All right.
There is something to be said for the simplicity of, I am girl, I have bow, I pull down thing from rooftop. You know, it's just, I don't know.
All right, so Breath of the Wild took from Assassin's Creed and the Elder Scrolls games for their open world, right? And Tears of the Kingdom, well, the way that they designed the open world. All right, anyway.
Yeah.
They very much took from Western game design to do Breath of the Wild, right? Like
yeah.
That was explicit when they came out with the game. So in Tears of the Kingdom, they're using Braid and Minecraft as sort of the basis for what they're doing in the game. What do we think? What other game from 10 years ago do we think that they're going to use for the next Zelda game to influence the game design?
Nothing, because they said this is the future of Zelda. Building things is the future of Zelda forever. Enjoy building. Enjoy building. If you're not a builder person, Zelda is no longer your franchise, according to Nintendo.
How else is how else is Nintendo gonna repackage game design from 10 or 15 years ago and resell it to us and get 10 out of 10s?
Skyward Sword, hopefully.
Yeah, apparently Skyward Sword's an amazing title. Didn't you see? Metacritic's amazing. It's one of the greatest games ever made. Thank God Evan's not on the show. Evan would kill us.
They're going to draw from Mario Kart for the next one. Or potentially Death Stranding. I know that's not 10 years old.
They're gonna pull from Final Fantasy VII, and Zelda's gonna die for once.
Oh man!
They kill her near the end of the game, and then Link goes into a bad mood and saves the world.
And then he's going to wake up, and it's all a dream, and he had amnesia for some reason.
Can I just say how good the puzzle design in Death Stranding is? Because the world is the puzzle. That's just so brilliant.
No,
I love that game. I don't care. I could play that game for hours instead of Zelda.
So if we go around the room,
I did.
Do you think it's good, like this option of puzzle design and tools to solve puzzles? Do you think this is good for games, for future titles besides Zelda? Like, do you want to see this type of stuff in future titles that are not Zelda, just like any other makeshift title? Because people are going to copy Zelda. Let's be honest. They're all going to be like, oh my god, we need to catch up. Like, Zelda's getting 10s, and they just need to all understand that Zelda's just getting this magical bump like no other because it's Zelda. And that people will come to their senses probably 5 months, 6 months. Right now, it's probably looking like a year on this title, but we'll see. But I mean, Keith, what do you think?
I can understand where if you're basically going to say, here's a sandbox, go play with it, create and do whatever you want. It doesn't matter how someone then interacts with the game, because the point of it isn't necessarily to, and this is where the debate about, is this actually a Zelda game or is it just an open world game with a Zelda paint job over the top?
Because the developer said there's dungeons. There isn't dungeons in this game, I would tell you that for certain. Like, there's levels that are looking like dungeons, but they're not really dungeons, let's be honest.
So in that respect, if people, like we said earlier, if people are having fun with it, they've created a open world sandbox and given people a load of tools that they can mess around with. Great. You've created Zelda Minecraft story mode.
Yeah.
In terms of how do I personally think whether or not that's a good idea, no, I don't, because either make it an absolute open world sandbox and take out the elements that people could then use to circumvent the things that you want them to do. Because if there are elements in the game that you need the player to actually achieve or unless you're just a nutter speedrunner and you can complete the game in 23 minutes or whatever crazy figure it was, why aren't you designing it in that way? Why are you designing the ability for people to circumvent what it is you've already designed into the game? That doesn't make sense to me. It's somewhat counterintuitive. I'm trying to think of an example where you potentially lose some abilities and then have to solve a puzzle. So there's certain... I'm really racking my brain as to try and think of an example of that.
Well, actually, in the game, there is some. There are shrines in the game that take away tools from you. So, like, you go into the shrine, and I lost all my armor. And then they only give you a select amount of weapons to pick up to initiate to start. Or they are like... Well, technically, they never turn off the abilities, but they do take your armor away.
So they're just making your ability to do the thing more difficult rather than taking away your ability to circumvent
Correct.
what it is that you're actually doing.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't. I understand from the example of don't steal my fun, old man. But I don't get it.
It's fair.
And I really need to try and come up with an example of where you'll be playing a game and you get a certain set of abilities, and then those abilities are taken away from you to purposefully at a point in time. And I don't mean the trope of you start a game and you've lost all your abilities from the previous game. I'm trying to think of
a
where...
game, but I think I've had a game where like you went into a room and like, oh my god, I can't use this ability here because they like it's malfunctioning right now or something, and they find a story way to like, oh I know. Well, it's not a puzzle, but like Final Fantasy 15 does this. Like not in the beginning of the game, but like near the end of the game, he loses some of his power, but introduces a new ability with his ring that he like soaks up the ability and punches out other people. Now, like, can't argue to say like it makes it fun or anything like that, but like something like that. There is ways in the story that you could just take away someone's ability for a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I feel like Portal does that to you, where it teaches you something, and then you get 2 or 3 more rooms into the game, and you're like, oh shit, I can't do that thing that I did 2 puzzles ago or whatever, and like you have to retry to figure out how to solve it. And
I think that's kind of the problem with the title, is like not Portal, Zelda, which is
right.
The game never really teaches you like how to keep thinking of new ways to use your powers, because it's the same powers, or like how to evolve of using your powers because it's always the same powers. There are times where I completely forget I have a certain power because I don't use it enough. The game isn't teaching you enough to like think about constantly using all the different powers that you have. Sometimes like I'm hitting the fuck it button so much I forget that I can slip through the ceiling. So like
right.
That's smart game design, when the game keeps teaching you to be like, think about using this power in this way, think about using the power this way, and then like rethink about it altogether when you're like, oh, we took it away, now here's a new one. It's like they give you all these powers to start the game and go, that there isn't as much the teaching as like as you play or however you want it to be, and it's not that.
Yeah. One of the things, one of the examples would be Batman Arkham City, where you've got the code breaker device. What if you started Arkham Asylum with all of Batman's abilities? So basically, your first game was New Game Plus. Would that be as interesting?
I would say no.
Well, yeah, probably not. It would probably,
because I feel like it's specifically in Batman for that title. Like, I feel like I would be overwhelmed for how many abilities I have. I'd forget to use a lot of them and that's kind of why I liked things like, you know, when you talked about the Tomb Raider dungeon, the Tomb Raider tombs, those things I really like, because a lot of the times those challenge modes, those extra things, what they do is sometimes they make you use tools that you forgot you even had, and then it makes you use them in the game because you're like, oh yeah, I remember I had those, and oh, this comes in handy here. I should use this more often. Whereas like so like in the combat arenas for Batman, a lot of the times I never used like the batarangs and all that kind of stuff. I usually just did fist because it looked so cool and I loved doing it. I forgot I had all those other tools to use. But in those challenge modes, they constantly need to use them to be successful. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'll start using them more when I play the game. And I started to use them more and the game became more fun. That's when a game does it really well to like challenge the player, yet help remember to teach the player to use the tools that they have available to them constantly. Whereas I feel like I'm not getting that experience. Liam, what do you think? Is this what you want for future titles? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's kind of interesting because it's not what I specifically, Liam wants. I almost said my full name.
But do you want other games to do this? Is this gonna? Do you want this to be the future of games?
Well, the thing is, it's not for me. I don't like it. I want to try and be empathetic to people that do like this because I know there's a lot of them out there. Like our good friend Rafa.
He's just building machines with into giant statues with penises, I bet.
And can I just tell you for the record, I made a machine, and the one thing that is just so frustrating about this title, there is no reverse on any of these vehicles. So if I accidentally ran into a wall and I could not get off the wall because I was straight into the wall. So what I had to do is I had to stop the vehicle, and it was in water, so I had to like step on the ledge where it would like the water would shimmy it for me because of the flow of the water. It took 15 minutes for me to get that vehicle off the wall so that I could finally drive it again. Like that's
really fucking dumb because the game establishes rules and there's like, oh, you can do this with everything, but you can't do it with this vehicle you've made. It's like, oh, for God's sake, fuck off.
And screw the person that says, oh, take the thing and like, move it from the front side and then flip it over and make it a reverse. And it's like, dude, I'm in water. If I take the thing off, I'm going to fall into the water and lose it. It's like, oh my God.
That's a weird thing to restrict because it doesn't even break the game in any way.
To just do a reverse.
It just fucking annoys you.
Yeah.
Let
me spin the fan the other direction, please.
Well, what I will say about this game, though, is I think all of the things they're doing is very impressive from a design, systems, and physics, and just attention to detail. Like, I think that's very impressive, and it's sort of like I can't put it down so much because I respect what they're trying to do, even though I don't like it. And I think, to a certain degree, I think we'll probably get a bunch of games that copy this sort of gameplay paradigm and won't be nearly as successful as Zelda, because how can you be as successful as Zelda? Because everybody's so far up its arse.
Yeah, your name's not Zelda. You're never going to be as successful. Making the same title.
Yeah, and it's annoying, but it's sort of like one of these things. It's like creates a fad, and it will sort of annoy us for the next few years, and then go away when they realise that only Nintendo can get away with it. But then I look at all the other things that I think could be quite good for games and give developers new ideas, and think I never thought of doing something like that. And so from that perspective, I'm happy it exists, and I hope it pushes developers to do more interesting things with physics and all sorts.
Well, there are games that do interesting things with physics. It's called Goat Simulator.
which is brilliant fun for like 45 minutes.
I mean, yeah, I would... Oh, go ahead.
Not quite the definition of polished.
Available on Game Pass.
I mean, I would just like... I mean, I get what you're saying and all that kind of jazz, but I just... I don't know.
You see, Mitch,
my problem with
played it. If I played it, I'd probably feel the same way as you.
Yeah, my problem with this whole thing, this whole situation is like, and I guess this gets into the review kind of thing that Stefan want to talk about, but I'll like dabble into it for a second and just say the nostalgia of Zelda is so powerful that these people need to acknowledge their biases and stop like toting a game as the greatest thing ever made when it clearly it is not. Like
Yeah.
I mean, do I think like personally God of War to me is the greatest game ever made? Yeah. Is it the greatest game ever made? No. In all of video games? No, it's not. It's my personal favorite. I really think they do a lot of amazing things and I put it up there in the tiers, but I can put my bias aside. I don't know what's wrong with some reviewers, like seriously, like using when reading these reviews about what this title is just astounding to me to think that they don't think critically.
I mean, to your point though, like God of War 2018 got a lot of 10 out of 10s too. So I mean, there's a lot of people that, you know,
yeah, but no one was sending death threats or DDoSing websites for them giving it a 9.
I'm sure there are a few Tonys out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say the same thing, but like, if you look at it, if you take Ragnarok and put it side by side with something like this title, what is the better title?
Well, I haven't played God of War Ragnarok, but I did play the 2018 God of War reboot. Is it reboot or is it continuation? Who cares? It's a great game. It's a good game. It's better than a open world quasi thing with some Zelda stuff slapped on top, which is what I think Tears of the Kingdom is. And I don't really care what anyone says about that, because you have your fun, I'll have mine. Just don't go around sending death threats and DDoSing people, or orchestrating mass YouTube reporting of Steph Sterling's video where she dared say that Tears of the Kingdom was a good game and not perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good game. Again, it is a good game. It's not perfect. It is not a 10. And like,
one thing
final argument is like I remember this a long time ago when Breath of the Wild came out. Guess what also came out? Horizon. You put those two games side by side, what is the better game? They're both really good games. Actually,
Matt's thinking, you put those two games side by side, Talos Principle stands on top of them and takes a dump.
But I'm telling you right now, like, better combat system, Horizon by far.
I can't believe they barely changed the combat system in Zelda. Like, Jesus
it's oh my god, don't get me started about that combat system in Zelda. I'm just like, can we update? Can we please update? Like, the dodge button is so bad. It's so bad.
No,
it feels janky as hell.
We'll just give Link detective mode so that he can see the red area that you've got to shoot with the arrow. It's fine.
You know what Zelda combat like? It's like beating up somebody with a glove. Just like whipping them on the face constantly, back and forth. With a glove.
No, it feels like you have a fly swatter.
Yeah.
Is it what I would say is I needed to remind myself of what Stefan put in the Discord about them patching out the duplication.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have left that in for
or
sure.
Also the other one where you can get the sword from the very beginning of the game, which is like a super uber master sword, but then that's unbreakable. And if you do it that way and get it, it also becomes as an unknown string because it's not an actual weapon you should be able to get in the game.
There's a couple of points about that, which if this game is perfect, the people put those bugs in there on purpose to make your gameplay experience better.
Mm-hmm.
That's point one. Point two, they've patched out, I think it was 4 bugs. Within 24 hours of that patch going live, people are posting videos on how to do duplication glitches and there's about 6 more glitches that you can do to get duplicate items in your inventory. But if you're going to, going back to the point I was making about, if you're going to make a open world sandbox with Zelda paint, leave all this stuff in because it's going to be there, and just let people abuse it. Who cares? That's the whole point of you designing the game like this. Who cares? If you're that pissed off about people duplicating shit, why aren't you pissed off about what Mitch was saying about, I can just build a massive ramp and completely break or circumvent the puzzle that you want me to do? Why are you pissed off with this thing and not this thing?
Yeah.
That's a fair argument. It's a really fair argument. Also, Keith, they also don't care that if I break more than 2 rocks at once, my frame rate tanks to 10 frames a second. Apparently that's okay. That's perfect. They always want to tank the frame rate. The frame rate, whole Redfall argument about frame rates, I guess that doesn't matter. It doesn't apply to Nintendo, right?
No, it doesn't.
Never. No.
It doesn't matter when you use good game design.
But Mitch, but it's running on the Nintendo Switch. For God's sake, man. You should beg for their forgiveness for managing to get a game like that to run on the Switch.
I was going to say something really funny, but Liam's made me forget because I've just got this image in my head now of Mitch begging at the feet of Miyamoto.
Give me more frames, please.
It's like Oliver Twist. Please, sir, could I have some more?
More frames.
You want frames? How about an amiibo?
I just,
Yeah.
To answer,
that's what I wanted to try and make the point about, is why are they patching out something that through testing they would probably already knew is in the game, that they still know is in the game because there's still more glitches, but by its definition you're going to have those kinds of bugs in an open world sandbox game. So why are you angry about this and not about other stuff?
Well, yeah, Burkoff, what do you think? What's you think you want this to be the future of games?
If it is, I'm not playing those games. I'm just gonna play old games. But that's kind of what I do now anyway. So
Burkoff's gonna be hunkered down in his what do you call it? Emergency. What's the one?
My apocalypse bunker.
Yeah, there you go. His apocalypse bunker of games.
I was telling Liam I started playing Final Fantasy 12 because I forgot that I even bought it on Switch. I powered up my Switch and was like, oh, what, it's like I don't even remember buying or downloading this. Apparently,
Wait, is that the one with the real-time combat system?
It's not really real time. It's like an MMO time.
Yeah, it has like the
cycling
arrows
thing
that point to the next opponent. It's like a.
Yeah, I wanted to compare it against Remake.
I've never played 12, but I've seen stuff about it. I heard it's good.
The story and characters and art and all that stuff is amazing. Like Ivalice is a great setting for fantasy.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah, I know. I'll just continue to do what I do right now, which is play old games.
I mean, I will not probably indulge in these types of games going forward as much unless there's something really compelling, or maybe how about they make it a way that I actually have to solve the puzzle using the tools that are given to me in the way they are intended to, and not be able to hit a fuck it button so often, because God, for how many times I've just been like, I'm just gonna build a big ramp. Like, I can't believe it. I literally can't believe how many times I've done that and it worked, and I'm just like, wow, that it shouldn't be that easy.
I know what Mitch's independent game is going to be when he sets up his own studio, which is going to be Ramp Simulator.
Sounds like a great Crash Test Dummies game.
Yeah, you could monetize the shit out of that.
Oh, don't worry. And then the character will look close like Link, but not Link exactly. And look, I'll call it Yelda.
The Legend of Zelda.
Yelda barfing in the kingdom. and then I'll get 10s, right? I'll get instant 10s You know, it sounds like Zelda.
Well, as long as there's ramps, I suppose.
Yeah, it's literally like copy and paste of the original game, except every puzzle is solved with a ramp.
You know, we're going down the rabbit hole here.
Yeah, we all laugh, but that game would probably sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, make that on mobile and then monetize the shit out of it.
Yeah,
and
to buy the piece to make the ramp, you have to give me an extra $1.
Yeah,
No, 10 cents.
And then have Matt do some VOs like, you know what we need? A ramp.
And then if you don't have enough pieces, be like, oh, looks like you're short. You need some boopies to get some? Pay me some boopies to get some more pieces for your ramp.
We've just created a mobile game. All we need now is some loot boxes, and we're real game developers.
Oh,
well
the
done,
loot
us.
box is a cosmetic image you can put on your ramp, which just says like,
just changes the skin of the ramp.
yeah, that's all it does.
So when you could complete a level, can it just come up with Mac going, mission fucking accomplished?
Yes.
Yeah, mission fucking accomplished.
Yeah, the original audio from Mission Fucking Accomplished.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We're not going to pay him extra.
No, that's weird. That's behind a paywall. That's one
that you buy.
That's actually you get that at the very end of the game, and you're like, you want to, and then it's like new game plus. Oh, you want this Matt saying Mission Fucking Accomplished every time you play this game? Pay us.
Probably only we would buy that.
Yeah.
Nah, what are you talking about? Consumers will buy
It's like
anything.
buy our own game.
Roblox gets away with loads of shit, and we can put Matt saying Mission Fucking Accomplished in a mobile game, I'm sure. Are we exhausted talking about Zelda? I'm exhausted talking about Zelda.
I'm looking right now. Tactics Ogre Reborn is on sale for $30. I might buy it.
You need to
Back
carry
to
on
the old
playing
games.
Final Fantasy VII Remake so that we can torture Mitch.
You know, that's not how I play games, dude. I dabble. I'll finish it in like 3 years, and then I'll be done. But
you've got it's this year's time that counts.
I know.
He knows and he doesn't care. On that note,
Kind of curious. Oh yeah, on that note, we're done. I'm kind of curious if I don't finish Tales, what kind of horrors will I have to
If you don't finish Thronebreaker,
yeah.
I'll probably just make you finish it.
What did you make him do that you have to play Thronebreaker?
He played
I
through
played
Yakuza 0.
Oh, you put him up to that. I thought that was Evan.